After the attacks on 9/11, America began its perpetual war on terror, and for the first time in video game history, players and soldiers could simultaneously fight the same enemy. One of the most dominant genres in gaming today is the FPS, which stands for First-Person Shooter, where the player's point of view is through the character's eyes with an emphasis on gunplay. In 1992, the PC game Wolfenstine 3D had players around the world shooting their way through the Nazi hordes as a one-man army, gunning their way to Hitler himself, complete with robot suit and machine gun hands. This was one of the first games I ever played, and as a lifelong gamer, I can safely say that I have probably killed over 1 million digital Nazis in my life thus far. Wolfenstein helped to kick off the first-person shooter craze in the world of video games, but was not without its controversy. When the game was ported to the Super Nintendo, all swastikas and Nazi symbols were removed, Hitler's mustache was erased, and his name was changed. Over the next 2 decades, first-person shooters would bring gamers the ability to compete against each other globally, and after the reinvention of the genre becoming more accessible on home consoles, the FPS genre grew into one of, if not the most, dominant forms of entertainment media today. This is the midnight release for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, the most anticipated video game in history. On day one, it sold 6 million copies in the US and the UK, and now, a month later, global sales are estimated at over 10 million units sold. The Call of Duty franchise has a new entry every year, and each one consistently outsells the previous title. Its immense popularity has provoked an oversaturated market of similar games, all trying to cash in on the military first-person shooter craze, fueled by the Modern Warfare series. The amount of money this franchise makes every year is disconcerting for a reason. They are selling the war to gamers in a sanitized and fun way. By misrepresenting war and making it entertainment, the millions of Americans playing these military FPS games are prepared to turn a blind eye to things like why, or how long we're at war for, or whom with.
I think there is obviously great moral and ethical conundrums because of the way that they do alter history, and the way that they do sort of flip who the insurgents are, who the occupiers are, who the opposition, who the invaders are. Yeah, that's hugely problematic from a historical and cultural standpoint, but do they have a responsibility as game design companies that are in it for profit? Sadly, no.
Each Call of Duty game that comes out retails at $60, with additional downloadable content coming out every few months costing up to $15 a piece. What happens when gamers can't afford to spend nearly $100 every year to keep up with the latest entry in the franchise? They can play America's Army for free. America's Army is a military first-person shooter, developed in-house by Army developers, paid for with your tax dollars, for the sole purpose of recruiting young Americans. America's Army has been one of the most successful tools in increasing recruitment among teenagers since its inception. As of 2009, the game has been downloaded over 40 million times. The creator and director of America's Army, Colonel Casey Wardinsky, said, "You can't wait until they're 17, because by then they will have decided that they're going to college, or a trade school, or they'll already have a job that they're planning to stay in. You have to get to them before they've made those decisions."
Well, everything has ratings nowadays.